Okay, let's start the course that is data communication and computer networks. So if you do remember, in the last class we had discussed chapter number 2 and we have discussed application layer. It is about application layer. We discussed example of persistent and non-persistent HTTP. Then we discussed HTTP response message format as well as an example. After this, we also discussed the HTTP cookies, how it works, and what are its advantages. And then we discussed web cache, its working, its advantages, and even we described through some quantitative example, through some numerical example, that how web cache can perform better, how web cache can improve the performance of networks. Okay, so in today's class we are going to continue chapter number 2, and it is about application layer. And this is covered from the computer networking a top-down approach 7th edition. In this class we are going to discuss DNS. We will provide introduction about DNS, what is DNS, how it works, then its hierarchy, then how a query is resolved in DNS, that is how DNS work. And then a resource record that is used in the DNS, what is its format, resource record, and how the record is inserted in the DNS. So in this class we are going to discuss DNS in detail. The DNS is also an application layer protocol. So it is also used in practice. So therefore, we have discussed the HTTP, which is used for web access in practice, and now we are going to discuss DNS, and it is also used in practice. Okay. So let's start DNS. First of all, I would like to explain. I would like also throughout this course, I would like to let you know about some tools, networking tools that are being used for development or for simulation or for testing, etc. So this is a tool, Neutron, which is used in the OpenStack, and nowadays it is based on SDN concept. So you can explore it, and then you can also have familiar project on this topic. Okay. So first of all, what is DNS? As we know that what are the identifiers in internet? Okay, that how in internet an application is identified, a system is identified. Okay, so you know that we have discussed in this course that the IP address and port number, they are used as identifiers. IP address is used to identify the system, source system, destination system, source machine, destination machine, the routers. Okay, and the port number, it identifies the application in a system, the application in a system. Okay, so the source port number, it identifies the source application at the source machine. The destination port number, it identifies the destination application on a machine. We have discussed, okay, and we have explained it through examples. I think that will be clear to you. Okay, but it means that we are accessing the application in the internet by using IP address and port number. Okay, so it means that in the internet each and every application, they work based on IP address and port number. They are identified by IP address and port number. So IP address is used and port number are used to move the data from one system to another, from one router to another, and so on. Okay, but when we access internet, the user, they access internet. How do you access in the internet? We never use IP address, we never use port number to access the application. For example, if you are going to access Google, so do you provide the IP address to access the google.com, or do you provide the port number? No, we don't provide IP addresses. What we provide? We provide names. Like for example, if someone is accessing yahoo.com, so we provide the name. Okay, but till now we have discussed that the internet is working on the identified IP address and port number, but the user, they don't use port number, they use name. So what is the logic? Why? How the user is using names to access the machines on internet? However, the internet application, they are using IP address and port number. So what is the logic behind? How it works? So let's discuss it. So how do you connect to a friend via internet? Okay, so we use names or we use applications. Okay, so the application, they works. Okay, so today we are going to discuss this logic. So for this purpose, there is a working of DNS, domain name system. Okay, so as you know that the people, they have many identifiers. For example, they have SSN number, social security number, name, passport number. In our country, we have in Pakistan, we have passport number, we have name, we have CNIC number, and we have registration number in university. Okay, so similarly in internet, the host, the router, they have IP addresses, which is a numeric 32-bit value, and they also have name. Okay, so when the internet application, they use the IP addresses to identify the host, the routers. Okay, but the host also have name. The host also have name. For example, yahoo.com. So it means that a host has two identifiers. One is name and one is IP address. When the user access the host over the internet, they use the name. They identifies the name. They use the name to access the host on internet. But when the application, the internet application, they want to access the host, they use IP address. Okay, so there is, when the user wants to access the host, so they use name. The human, they use name, like www.yahoo.com. And then this DNS, okay, this DNS, it finds the IP address of this name, yahoo.com. This is called mapping of IP and name, IP address to name, or name to IP address. So when the humans type www.yahoo.com, the name of the host, so the DNS is invoked, and the DNS application, it finds the name, the IP address of this name. This is called mapping name to IP address. And then the application use that name, that IP address, the IP address of that name to access the host and the internet, because the machine and the routers, they use the IP address, they don't use the name. This name is only used by the humans, by the user. Because why? Because for the user to remember the name, it is easy. For the machine, it is easy to work with the numbers, the numeric values. For machine, it is difficult to work with the names. Okay, so the machine, the host, the routers, they use the IP addresses to interact with each other. However, the human, when they use the host, they access the host, the application, so they use names. Why? Because it is easy to remember. For example, you have a mobile phone and you have contacts, so you have stored those contacts with the names. For example, Nader Shah has a mobile number 033298547115. Okay, so why you store the name context with the name? Because for human it is easy to remember the names rather than to remember the numbers. But for the host, for the router, for the machine, it is easy to work with the numbers. Okay, IP address and port number. So therefore, the DNS is a database. It is a centralized database, and this database stores the machine name and the machine IP address. The machine name and their corresponding IP address. Okay, and this database is a centralized database. This is a centralized database. Let's discuss how it works. Suppose this is a figure and this is a centralized DNS. And suppose this centralized DNS, it is located in Peshawar. And in this centralized database, we have stored the name of the machine, for example, www.yahoo.com, and its corresponding IP addresses. Why it's 3 IP addresses? Because yahoo.com, they have 3 servers, one here, and one here. So their name is same, yahoo.com, but their IP addresses are different. Okay, and why 3 Yahoo servers? Because if one Yahoo server is down, then Yahoo can access from other 2 servers. So this is to provide resilience to failure. Okay, so you can see that in this DNS we have stored the name of the host, all the hosts and the internet, their names and IP address, they are stored at the DNS. And this DNS server system, this DNS server, it is located in Peshawar. For example, www.google.com, its IP addresses are 3, this one, 222.1, 222.3, 222.4. Similarly, facebook.com, this is the host name, the server name of the facebook.com, and this is their 2 IP addresses. Some host, they may have 1 IP addresses because they have only 1 machine, and some have more than 1 system, so they may have more than 1 IP addresses. Okay, so this is stored here. So what does it mean? How it works? Okay, so let's discuss how the host name is mapped to IP address, how this translation is performed. That we have said that the humans, they use the names to access the host and the internet, but the application, the routers, the machines, the host, the end system, they use IP addresses. For them, the numeric values are easy to work with. Okay, so how it works, let's discuss it in the next slide. Suppose this is a user, and this user wants to access yahoo.com. So this user should know the name of Yahoo. For example, the name of Yahoo is www.yahoo.com. So the user type this yahoo.com, but this machine, it doesn't know about yahoo.com. It cannot understand yahoo.com. It doesn't work with yahoo.com. It works with the IP address. So it means that this system doesn't know the IP address of yahoo.com. It only knows yahoo.com. So this system, it invokes DNS, domain name system. It invokes DNS, domain name system. So the user gives this name yahoo.com to this DNS, and let's see how it works. So this user, it requests the DNS server. This is the DNS server. That what is the IP address of yahoo.com. Why? Because this host, this machine, it only works with, it understands IP address. It doesn't understand the name. But the user, it understands the name. It doesn't understand. It is difficult for them to remember the numbers, the IP address and port number. So the user have provided the name. So this system will, this application or this system will invoke DNS. It means that this system will ask the DNS that what is the IP address of yahoo.com. Okay. So let's see. So this user asks this server. So this DNS server, it looks in its database that what is the IP address of www.yahoo.com. So www.yahoo.com, its IP addresses are 3. So all 3 IP addresses will be delivered to the users. Okay. So the DNS server, it returns the IP address. It returns the IP address, this IP address. 3 IP addresses are returned. Now it is the choice of this user to select one of them IP address, any IP address, because these server, they are consistent with each other. These are the Yahoo servers. The same data is stored here, the same data is stored here, the same data is stored here. So any of these Yahoo server can be accessed. So normally, usually when the user receives this list, so the user picks the first IP address. Usually, normally the user picks the first IP address. Okay. So the user picks the first IP address, like for example 1.1. So the user access 1.1. So now this is accessed. So now the user sends the query based on IP address. IP address is 1.1.1. So on that IP address it accesses this. So it means that what is the advantage of DNS? The advantage of DNS is that the user only access the system on the internet using names. Why? Because for them, for the human, it is easy to remember the names. And for the host and the router, the machine, for them, it is easy to work with the IP address, with the numeric values. So this DNS, it provides the mapping from name to IP address. This is its advantage. But what is its disadvantage? The disadvantage is that when the user accesses yahoo.com, so it first goes to DNS to access the IP address of yahoo.com, and after getting the IP address of yahoo.com, then it accesses the yahoo.com. So this is the disadvantage. There is delay involved to find the IP address of yahoo.com from the DNS. So this delay is involved, but this delay is less as compared to the advantage that it provides the users to only access the host over the internet by using the name. So this is the advantage, and this advantage is more as compared to this delay. So therefore DNS is used like this way. Okay, so I think it is clear. Okay, so the DNS, first of all, how it works, what are its services? It provides, it maps, it translates name to IP address, as we have discussed in the next slide. It also provides you host aliases. We will discuss it and later on in the class. Okay, what is host aliases, etc. Okay, I think this example is clear to you. Okay, so the DNS, its services, its first use exam is that it provides a service to translate the host name to IP address. Second, it also provides host aliases. What is aliases means? Usually a host name is a longer version. For example, what is your name, complete name, real name? For example, I have a friend, His name is Sayyid Tamliq Ali Tanveer Shah Kakakhel, but the people call him Tanveer. Short name. Okay. Similarly, the host real name, this is called canonical name. This is a longer version. So to remember this longer name, it is difficult for human. So usually they use shorter name that like yahoo.com. So the DNS, it stores both aliases as well as real names. Okay. Similarly, it also provides mail server aliasing. What does it mean? On the same system, we have web server as well as mail server. So it also provides for mail server aliases. Okay. The fourth information that the DNS can return. Okay. For example, when this user asks for the DNS of this yahoo.com, so what does it return? So it returns, first of all, it returns the IP address. It returns the IP address. Along with IP address, it can also return host aliasing, host canonical name, short name, as well as mail server aliasing, as well as this DNS is used for load distribution. It is used for load distribution. So let's discuss how it works. How the DNS can be also used for load distribution. Okay. As I have explained to you, if you do remember, so through previous example, we have explained that the Yahoo server, there are 3 Yahoo servers. In each of Yahoo server, they have same data. Okay, and there are 3 machines. One IP address is 1.1.1, second is 1.1.2, third is 1.1.2. They both have same services, same content of yahoo.com. But why it is used? Its first use that we explained that was if one server is down, then we can access yahoo.com from another server. So it is fault resilience. But another point of view is the load distribution. What does load distribution? For example, if there are 100 users, and for example there are 3 users and they access yahoo.com, so one user should access one server, the second user should access second server, and third user should access the third server, so that the one server is not overloaded. This is called for load distribution as well. Okay, so how this DNS helps to provide this load distribution, that all the users, they should not access the one Yahoo server, but the user should be distributed over multiple Yahoo servers. So for this purpose, DNS helps. And how DNS helps? Let's discuss it. For this purpose, DNS helps. How it works? Let's discuss it. Suppose we discuss that this DNS, this user want to access yahoo.com, and this information is stored in the database of DNS. Okay, so the user access the DNS. Okay, so the DNS returns the IP address, that yahoo.com, these are the IP addresses, but these are ordered in this way: 1.1.1, 1.1.1.2, 1.1.1.3, in this order. And when the user gets the IP addresses, the user usually picks the first IP address, the top IP address. So the top address is 1.1, so it is accessed 1.1. Okay, so now when it is accessed by one user, for example this user accessed this IP address, when it is accessed, then the DNS reshuffle these IP addresses. Reshuffle these IP addresses. How? Like this way. The DNS reshuffle these IP addresses. That is, this IP address is placed in the end of the list. So 1.1.2. It will be the first IP address. So this IP address list, it is reshuffled. This top IP address, it is stored in the end of the list. So now the IP addresses are stored in this order: 1.1.2, 1.1.3, 1.1.1. So this stop IP address, it goes to end. So this is now stored in this way. So what does it mean? It means that suppose there is another user. This is another user, and she want to access yahoo.com. So she first gets the IP address of yahoo.com. So she requests to DNS server. So she sends a request to DNS server. You can see it. She sent request to DNS server. So when the request arrives, so you can see that now the DNS, they store the Yahoo name, yahoo.com, and its IP address is in this order. So it returns this list. So in this list, 1.2, 1.1.2 is on the top. When this user, he accessed the yahoo.com, the DNS, so 1.1 was on the top. So this user used 1.1 IP address to access. So this user accessed this yahoo.server. Now when this user requests, so she gets the list 1.1.2, 1.1.3, 1.1.1. So in this case, 1.1.2 is on the top. So usually the user used the first IP address to access the server. So she picks 1.1.2. Okay, so she picks 1.1.2. So in this case, when she picks 1.1.2, so she will access this Yahoo server. So you can see that this user is accessing the Yahoo from this server, and this user is accessing the Yahoo from this server. So the load is distributed. So in this way, the DNS helps to distribute the load. Okay. So I think it is clear that the DNS services, it is clear that the DNS services are it host name to IP address translation. It is done. It provides also host aliases, real names. It also provides mail server aliases, and it also helps to load distribution, because normally the web server, they are replicated over set of IP addresses, but they use the single name. Like for example, yahoo.com, it was distributed on 3 servers. So both, each and every Yahoo server provide the same data, but why they are done for one purpose is that if one server is down, that Yahoo server can access from other servers, and second is there to distribute the load. Okay, for this distributing the load, this centralized DNS helps. The DNS helps by reshuffling the IP addresses once a request is returned to the user. Okay. So similarly for each, whenever it returns, so it will do like this way. Okay. So when this second user, for example this user, it gets the IP address, this list, so this list will be again reshuffled, and this IP address will go to end, and now 1.1.3 will be on the top. Okay. So why not centralized? Up to now we have discussed that there is a single server, DNS server, and it is supposed located in Peshawar, and it stores the IP address and the name of all machines that are present over the internet. So what is its disadvantage? The first disadvantage is single point failure. What does it mean? It means that if this DNS is failed, then no one can access internet. Why? Because the people, they don't remember IP address and port number. For example, if you lost your mobile phone or your SIM, and so you remember the name of your friend, but you don't remember their mobile number. So the same is here, that the people will not be able to access the internet easily. Okay. Second is traffic value. What does it mean? Traffic value means that all the people over internet, when they access, so they first have to access the DNS, and if the DNS is a single machine and it is located in Peshawar, so all the traffic comes here. So here there will be congestion. there will be congestion. Okay. Third is distance centralized database. What does it mean? For example, this user is in America and Yahoo server is also in America. But when this user wants to access the Yahoo server, so this user first have to come to Peshawar. Why? In order to get from the DNS the IP address. So coming from US to Peshawar and just getting the IP address of yahoo.com and then accessing yahoo.com in US. So there is a large distance to be covered, a long delay. Okay, so this is the another advantage. Third is maintenance, because the single server, they also have to be maintained, they have to be updated. So if there is some updation going on, so all the net will be, so the people will not be able to access the internet. Why? Because the people, they don't remember the IP address and port number, they only remember the names. Okay, so therefore, and the internet routers, the system, they work on the IP addresses, so they will not get IP addresses. So if they don't get IP addresses, so they cannot access the internet. Okay. Third is security. What does it mean? Security means that all the people, when they access the internet, so they first have to come where? They first have to come to DNS, and this is in Peshawar. So in Peshawar, each and every user knows that who is accessing what. Okay, so this is from security point of view. So nowadays, in the news, you will see that recently the Russia is going to build its own internet. If they are going to build its own internet and they are connected with the world, so how it is done? What is the role of DNS? How they design the DNS? That is a big question. But anyway, if the Russia claims that they have done it, so maybe they have invented some new technique. Okay, so what does it mean? It means that the centralized DNS, the single DNS system, it cannot work. It doesn't scale. Doesn't scale means that if there's a single system and we have a billions or trillion number of hosts in the internet, so it will not be enough for a single DNS to handle it. So what should we do? So we should use distributed database. We should use distributed database. So if there is a distributed database, means that there are multiple DNS servers. Like for example, one is here, one is here, one is here, one is here, and one is here. So if there are multiple DNS servers, then how they are connected with each other and how they coordinate with each other and how the user should know that whether I should access the DNS name from here or from here. So for this purpose, there is a specialized protocol need, that is called DNS. So this is an application layer protocol. Why? Because it resolves the name server to IP address. So it is basically the core internet function, and it is implemented in application layer. Why the core? Because if the DNS is not available, then for user to remember IP address is difficult. For example, if like for a human to remember the mobile number, it is difficult. So similarly for the user, if there was not now DNS, then for user it will not be easy to access the internet by using the IP address and the port number. Why? Because the IP addresses and port number, they are numeric values. Okay, for the user it is easy to remember the names like google.com, yahoo.com, etc. Okay, so therefore it is very important application layer protocol that is used. Okay, so let's discuss it. So we will discuss the hierarchy of DNS in the next video. Okay, so up to now I think it is clear. Okay.